3,000! History with an exclamation!
Anthony for three. Bang! That one goes down, and the game is tied. Rockies are champions of baseball.
And just like that, maybe the season's not over after all. Maybe we were all overreacting. Crazy thought to think that in the middle of the NBA season, maybe relax a little during an NBA win streak or losing streak. Yeah, that was fun, man. That was one of their better wins of the year. Makes it 4 wins in a row. You know, everybody was loud when they lost 4 or 5 in a row. Nobody's really talking about this 4-game win streak. It looked ugly for a little while. That first half, offensively at least, they had nothing going. And then, somewhere along that third quarter, I think I know exactly where it started, but we'll get to that. The game flipped within the snap of a finger, and it ended up becoming one of the better wins the Knicks have had all year. And it results in a 119-92 victory for the Knicks in Toronto, Canada last night to go 11 in a row against the Raptors, and most importantly, to take back the number 2 seed in the Eastern Conference, which needs to be where they sit at the very worst the remainder of the year. This was a fun win. This was a game where everybody kind of contributed to this win, as cliche as that might sound. You go up and down the box score, you'll find some good stuff. You watch the game, you'll really feel like even more than just box score watching, everybody contributed. But as I said, man, the Knicks did not start this one out nicely. And early in the game, with Toronto switching everything and having a small ball lineup without Jakob Poeltl out there to switch pick and roll, so the Knicks didn't have a 5 to exploit. On top of that, the Knicks not having Deuce to run much 5 out, they struggled with their switching, as you'd expect, right? Just a lot of poor spacing, a lot of bad turnovers. They couldn't execute the sets they were running. Brunson didn't have Poeltl to exploit out of the pick and roll. Cat couldn't really drive or post without help coming to him. It's all the same stuff. And you saw a lot of bad offensive possessions due to poor spacing and a lot of the switching. At the very top of the game, I think it might have been the first 3 possessions for the Knicks. I'm not exactly sure, but it was like 3 possessions very early on. The Knicks can't get offense, and they still have 0 points for a while. Like at the very top, Hart's got the ball on this one possession. He's on the wing. His back's to the basket. He's looking up top for an outlet, someone to get the ball to. Cat's right next to Hart on the weak corner. So Scotty Barnes, who was on Cat, just reaches over to pick the ball loose from Hart. It's just bad spacing. Hart and Cat right next to each other. It's an easy help. And I think like a minute later, more bad spacing, a possession where RJ Barrett, he switches to Cat off of Mikal's screen. Cat drives from the top into traffic for a turnover. You had, over on the weak side of the floor, OG and Hart were spacing, but Boyles was able to help off OG from the weak wing because OG is less than 25% above the break. He doesn't get respected from there sometimes. And Barnes was able to slide over off of Josh Hart from the weak corner as low man because, he's Hart and nobody respects him as a shooter. So you had Ingram off of that, was able to help on Mikal's roll with those guys ready to rotate if they needed to. Lets a Cat dribbling right into traffic. Ingram gets the steal. And then the very next time down, they have trouble beating a switch. Hart's got ball in front of the logo in the middle there with Cat trying to come off a Brunson pin down on the right wing 3. Toronto switches it. They switch the pin down to stay in front of Cat. Boyles just does a nice job, great ball denial as Cat's trying to get open. And he finally gets the ball, but by the time he gets open, he's like over the backcourt, and it's a violation. Just trouble beating a switch. And then There was another possession that stood out to me in the middle of the second quarter, more trouble beating a switch, where you get a Kolek Hart pick and roll. Hart slips it to try and beat the switch, but Jamal Shed does a nice job staying attached with Hart on the roll, gets his hand up as he's trailing him to intercept Kolek's pass. And you just had a couple more turnovers in the end of the second quarter, where Toronto started sending a blitz. Both Brunson and Kolek, some bad turnovers off pick and roll. And it was just really ugly offense that led to 47 points at the half. Second half came, and the Knicks completely flipped a switch. And I want to talk about how and why when we return from our first break here in episode 984 of the podcast. Stick with us.
Quick break here, guys. Stay connected with BD4 on social media. Follow us on Instagram and X at BD4Pod, and find us on Facebook by searching BD4. Don't miss out. Join the conversation. Want more BD4? Subscribe to our YouTube channel and never miss an episode. Hit that like button, drop a comment, and share with your fellow fans. Don't forget to ring that bell so you're always the first to know when a new video drops. Love BD4 but don't have the time to sit down and watch? Don't forget to subscribe on Apple Podcasts and Spotify so you never miss an episode. And if you're enjoying the show, leave us a 5-star rating and a quick review. It helps us grow and keeps the conversation going.
Okay, welcome back to the show. Episode 984 of BD4. Appreciate you all tuning in. That second half came, third quarter, the Knicks completely flipped a switch. They tightened up by playing better defense, and that led to some really good full court offense. And why is that important? That's very important to play full court offense when defenses are switching everything on the Knicks, so that the Knicks can avoid those switches, so that they can not allow the defense to set up their help and to set up their pre-rotations. When you're playing in transition like that, the defense doesn't have the time to set up their matchups that they want. So the Knicks were playing some really good defense, and that led to full court offense. And they go on this insane 27-4 run to close the third quarter. And it was the two Wingstop guys creating a ton of offense from their defense, both OG and Mikal, with help from Josh Hart too. He was playing some really good transition ball. But these guys were jumping the gaps in help. OG and Hart were coming over from the weak side, getting steals and blocks. OG was going nuts from everywhere. I mean, he was all over the place. Mikal makes 5 baskets in a row. He's playing in space. He's playing with pace, transition, semi-transition. The Knicks just, again, with Toronto playing small ball, they didn't have Jakob Poeltl. They were taking advantage of that by attacking the low paint, especially their wings. They were scoring at the basket a ton. You know, they were 14 out of 15 in the restricted area in the second half. That's 93%. Brunson, Hart, Cat, each of them had a couple of baskets down there. But Mikal and OG just countless times attacking the basket, and most of the times they were finishing. But I always talk about this. It's not just about scoring in the paint. Getting these paint touches are very important so that you can make those spray outs for three, right? And the Knicks got a fair amount of spray threes off those paint touches in the second half, creating offense with good spacing. Getting the paint touch to collapse the defense and help, that creates spacing on the perimeter. 13 of the 14 threes the Knicks made last night were assisted, so 93%. You had a bunch of them in the second half. You know, you had OG to Mikal for a three off of a drive to collapse Mikal's man and help to OG, makes the kick. You know, you had a Mikal transition three. Toronto was helping on a Hart drive on the break. You had Hart go to Shamet for a three. Hart forces Shamet's man to help on Hart's drive. Mikal relocation three with his man ball watching Kolek's drive on the other side. Mikal relocates to the corner. Sorry, the screen here is just starting to lag, so we're going to flip over to audio only for a minute here. So Kolek touches the paint, kicks to Mikal on the weak side corner. You had Hart drive to the basket to draw 4 Raptors into the paint. That opened up Mikal for a three. That came at the top of the fourth quarter. And just time and time in time, again, the Knicks were able to generate offense by touching the paint, whether it was touching the paint and getting open at the basket because they didn't have a real big down there, or touching the paint and creating a 3-point on the kick out because they collapsed on the drive. Really good job by them figuring that out. And it's not a coincidence, folks, that this continues to come in lineups that are actually good together. And I hate to bring this up, but again, we're going to talk about it because it's important to note that the Knicks got most of this production last night when the first unit was not all out there together. And that continues to be a trend, not just this year, but 2 years now, where most of the struggles that this team goes through is with those 5 guys on the floor together. Just like in this game, those first half struggles, a lot of that came with the first unit. They started the game slow. They had some issues in the second quarter. And then most of their success was in the second half with different lineup combos. And we read about this. We talked about this rather on Sacramento. In the Sacramento game, we read off the plus minuses. But last night, Josh Hart and the starters was a -4. The starting lineup was a -4. That's in a 27-point blowout, folks, which means every other lineup the Knicks played last night was a +31. So in English, when the starting lineup shared the floor, Toronto outscored the Knicks by 4 points. When any other lineup was on the floor last night, the Knicks outscored Toronto by 31 points. Pretty big difference. They were bad in the first half. They were bad at the top of the second half. They just continued to be bad together. And again, Tuesday versus Sacramento, we brought up the same plus minuses. And it's been a thing all season. And I'm going to read off the updated season stats with the first unit. Now I'm going to use per Cleaning the Glass here. Using Cleaning the Glass, who filter out garbage time, and all the lineups they list are 100 possessions or more. But this starting lineup for the Knicks is 8th place out of 160 lineups in usage by possessions. So it's used more than 95% of any other lineup in basketball. But it's 93rd place out of 160 lineups in net rating. So it's better in production than just 42% of the league. So again, in English, this starting lineup produces below average results, but is used more than almost every other lineup in basketball. Crazy. And it's for all the same reasons that we continue to list off, right? The switching and matchup issues, how it impacts the Brunson Cap pick and roll, the spacing problems, how it impacts every drive attempt, every post-up attempt, the point of attack defense, etc., etc., etc. The lineup synergy just is not there. And we're going on 2 seasons of experience now. I don't know what else we need to see. But again, Brown went away from that first unit mostly in the second half, and he mixed up his rotations, and the Knicks got excellent results, led by the wings, by OG, but also Mikal Bridges. And Mikal Bridges, we're going to hand our game ball to him from last night's game because I thought he was fantastic. 4 game balls now on the season for Mikal Bridges. It's been up and down for a while for him, but 30 points, 12 for 15 shooting overall, 4 for 6 from 3, 8 for 9 from 2, 2 out of 2 at the foul line. He was a plus 19 in 36 minutes. Just talked about him. He was fantastic last night on the season. 16 points per game, 4 assists per game. Let me go back to those numbers really quickly if I can. Yeah, here we go. 16 points per game on the year, 4 rebounds, 4 assists, 2 steals, 1 block. 51% shooting, 40% from 3, 80% at the foul line. That's a very good slash right there. It's a +4 overall in 35 minutes per game. And again, it continues to be durable. 47 games played this year. A great performance from Mikal Bridges. Needed it. Listened to his post-game interview on the court afterwards. Kind of being real authentic about it, man. Just being raw. Talking about how he needs to be more coachable and kind of giving us some insight on what's been going on a little bit. So it was nice to see him be authentic there, and you just hope for the best for him. So great night for Mikal. But you go to the second unit, and I really want to hand the game ball to Tyler Kolek. Knicks didn't have Mitch Robinson last night. They also didn't have Deuce. So Kolek got some more burn, and he was really good. He has 9 game balls on the season. Last night, 5 points, 1 for 1 from 3, 1 of 2 overall, 10 assists, and he was a team high plus 23 in 20 minutes. Big part of that second half run because Kolek was out there. Just finding guys really good, just quick decision maker, knows who to hit, works very well with Bridges, works very well with Towns. It's really good that Kolek is becoming this option that he has become. Without him this year, the Knicks are in worse shape. Just nice to see that. So, good minutes from Mikal, good minutes from Tyler Kolek, who now on the season is averaging a modest 5 points per game, 2 rebounds, but nice to see the 3 assists per game there. 43% shooting, 34% from 3, and just below 70% at the foul line. He's a +2 this year across 14 minutes per game in 40 games played. So Tyler Kolek gets his 9th game ball of the season, and your New York Knicks now continue a good stretch of defense. Last night, a very nice defensive showing overall. You look at the numbers, Toronto scores just 92 points. They shoot 38% from the floor. Their true shooting percentage last night, just 50%. So the Knicks did a really nice job making them uncomfortable, helping a whole lot, but did a nice job rotating off the help to make sure they weren't burnt. Nice job on their switches when they did. I thought Shamet, Mikal, even Brunson, I thought they did a nice job staying attached, fighting through screens, blowing up DHO. I mean, Shamet was great. OG was phenomenal in the gaps, like we said. He also had 6 steals and 2 blocks to finish his night. Cat did a fine job in drop. He was outstanding on the glass in Mitch's absence. He had 22 rebounds. Might not have had a great offensive night, but he was on the boards. And the Knicks just forced a lot of misses in transition. So a good defensive effort to push this struggling defense to 17th overall on the year. But you look at their last 6 games, they are first in defense over that span with a 102 defensive rating. Now, keep in mind, all 6 of these teams they've played are average or worse in offense this season per cleaning the glass. So do take that with a grain of salt. But it is nice to see that they're finding some type of rhythm on that end of the floor. And I think the ceiling is still there for them to get to an average or slightly above average level defensively, but it's all about finding the right lineup combinations, as we continue to talk about, folks. But good win. Not going to keep you too long. Up next for the Knicks, you've got one more game this month. You got tomorrow night. You're taking on the Trailblazers. That is at Madison Square Garden. 7:30 p.m. game. Should be a win. So it'd be nice to get 5 in a row. And then after that, kind of got a tough first 3 weeks of February here. Tough schedule coming up in February where you got 6 of 8 matchups versus top 6 seeds. And 3 of those are back-to-back sets during that span. So first 3 weeks of February won't be easy. The Knicks will be tested, but it's good that they're finally starting to gel right now so that they can hopefully go into this stretch getting hot. We'll see, but you still have to finish this off with Portland tomorrow night at the Garden and then wrap up January that's been full of ups and downs. So with that said, we can wrap this episode up with our trivia question of the day, and then we'll get out of here. And that trivia question for this one is: the Knicks have won 11 straight games against the Raptors. How many of them were double-figure wins. All right, so the Knicks have now won 11 straight against the Raptors. How many of them were double-figure wins? Got multiple choice for this one. 4, 6, 8, or 10. All right, 4, 6, 8, or 10. I appreciate you all tuning in, and I'm going to head out of here. And I'll see you all on the next show. Appreciate you. Hey guys, thank you for listening to BD4. Be sure to follow us on social media, subscribe to us on YouTube, and give us a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts. We'll see you next time.